Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You're welcome to the Best Xpress podcast for September 11th. So, first things first, happy birthday to my nephew, Brooklyn. No joke, today is his birthday.
How old is he?
8 years old now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, he'll be one of the kids who actually don't know or remember 9/11.
No, but, it's not like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we should always remember, or at least learn about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm John.
And I'm Chad.
So, how was your week doing?
A little bit sleepless, and as a result, I feel a little under the weather.
Same here. I couldn't sleep last night either. It was like way too hot or way too cold, and that's why my voice is all messed up.
Yeah, I kept on kicking around my sheets as a result, and thus I'm feeling a little sniffly.
Yeah, let me know if it's cold. I can turn off the fan.
Don't worry about it.
All right. So, what shall we talk about this week?
Well, the biggest elephant in the room, that would be, 9/11.
Okay.
It's the first time I've actually had to talk about, what happened with 9/11 and talking about where you were this time, this time when the towers fell, which is kind of weird because it's been more than, 16, 17 years?
Mm-hmm.
2011? Yeah. 2001, I think, if I remember correctly, is when it happened. So it's been about 15 years.
14 years.
So it's a bit somber when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time when this was happening, I was just getting out of bed.
For me, I remember watching it on TV, then having to go to work. I thought it was really surreal, and honestly, it never really. I never really put the most amount of thought into it. Like, I knew it was a tragedy, and I knew that it's going to be a big deal to clean it up and help people and so forth. But thinking about all that dust and asbestos and rubble, affecting people's lungs and so forth. And it's really through Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11 that put a natural light to how bullshit the medical system in the United States was.
Yeah.
So it's like people who volunteered, firefighters and so forth, have respiratory problems, and the medicine that they needed cost $100 for an inhaler, $100, $115 at the time for them to purchase and use, whereas in Cuba it was 50 cents.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that these, he pulled the stunt about he takes these guys to Cuba, like Americans going to Cuba, taking them directly to a hospital, and the hospital took them in. They just basically got their first and last name, treated them, told them to go to the pharmacist, buy the medication, and here's a year's worth of them, which I think one person, it would have cost them over $50,000. In Cuba, it was $100.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Night and day, depending on socialist medicine, when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where you kind of, we discussed in our last podcast, socialism and whatnot.
Yeah, socialized medicine.
It's when you really think about it, in the UK, you go to the doctor, you get, you get treated there, you don't have to pay a dime, and then by the time you go to the cashier and everything else, they're paying you back for your bus fare.
Yeah.
To get there.
Bus fare or
taxi or whatever mode of transportation you actually had to pay publicly to get there.
Yeah. Regardless if you're a UK citizen or not.
Yeah.
Because actually in Fahrenheit 9/11, the guy, I think I mentioned the guy that went to Abbey Road. I think that's Abbey Road where the Beatles cross.
Yeah.
Decided to walk across his way, like a handstand.
Yeah.
Breaks his arm.
Yep.
Goes to the hospital, pays nothing.
Yep.
And that was it. He didn't have traveler's insurance either. But also, you've heard the Americans, come up here, pretend to be, wife or fiance of a Canadian just to get our medical care.
Yeah. It's stories like that doesn't surprise me that this happens. And I just love the fact that how much the Republicans who are in the pockets of when you think, what was it, insurance companies and whatnot, they they go around ranting about how much our system is more like a lottery based system or whatnot, and it's not true. It's kind of like saying, well, you guys have to take turns driving this one car. No, it's not the case. You can do, you can have, dozens of cars to get to drive. You just have to pick one, right? It's not like we have the one hospital in Canada and then basically we all have to wait in line for this. No, there are dozens of different hospitals in Canada, right? There are dozens of doctors in Canada. You can pick one and then just go get treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, yes, even though our hospital time are long, we still get treated. Be honest, if it's not life-threatening and you can sit there and wait, they'll make you sit there and wait. Yep. It's still better than paying $50,000 to get your fingers all sewn back up.
Yeah, it's kind of like the most... it's like telling you, okay, well, you can only have, a partial life instead of a full life. Mm-hmm. When you really think about it. When you have all your fingers cut off and you're only given a choice of which one to reattach based on how much you can afford. It's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my personal favorite medical system is actually what the French does. Like they still have doctors that do house calls. They have nurses that will come to your house when you're pregnant to do your laundry, help clean up, and so forth. But I think the most amazing thing is like their vacation system. If you are, if you're part-time, you're mandatory have to guarantee 3 weeks of paid vacation for a part-timer.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're sick, you go back to work when you're ready, not when you have to. Yeah. But other stuff for 9/11, I think the one that I found really interesting is where I think they built a mausoleum there, or was it for the Muslim to worship or?
They want to do a temple there, and they're like, well, this is not on the 9/11 grounds. This is like blocks away from it. No, this was blocks away from it. From the research I've done, this was like probably about 2 to 5 blocks away, right? And they're like, no, we shouldn't have this temple there, this mosque, blah 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 blah. And then I'm thinking, no, this is not on the 9/11 grounds. This is blocks away from it. This is a community center. When you think about it, the whole point of it is to bring a community together, not try to go in there and disrupt things. So the whole discussion was really blown out of proportion.
Yeah, especially when even like the American officials says that Muslims are not to blame. It's Al Qaeda, right? And I'm assuming it's Al Qaeda. It's been so long.
Well, it was Al Qaeda, and they just happen to worship a very, very twisted sect of Islam when you really think about it.
Yeah, because the best comparison is like Al Qaeda is to Islam is the KKK to Christianity.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's to serve their own purpose because like I have a lot of Muslim friends, and one of the key things you are not allowed to do is kill yourself. Like you are not allowed to kill yourself.
Yep. But there are several sects of Islam that is twisted, just like Christianity has different sects of Protestantism, which is all screwed up based on one person's belief that they should be doing this because God wills them to it, which is full of shit.
Yeah. I don't know. For the longest time, I actually thought that the majority of the purpose of religion is just for the poor to do what the rich wants them to do.
Well, yes and no. At one point, when you really think about how religion started off, it was to bring people together to worship, I guess you could say an entity when you really think about it, and to do right by it. At some point, you had specific leaders there that are going in there for power, and they kind of twisted it and malign it so much that it becomes something of its former self.
Mhm.
And that gets, and when you talk about other organizations and stuff like that outside of religion, it's the same thing. Governments can be that way. Think about how Adolf Hitler got into power. He kind of went in there saying, "Well, I'm this for the German people," when really he was in it for himself and other people, and maligned it to a point where basically it just ended up being a genocidal army, against everybody else versus them of their ideal race.
Mhm.
So it is it can be it can be twisted to that fashion, which if we are not vigilant on something like that to stop it,
Mhm.
then we're just allowing other people to just walk in and say, well, we're gonna fuck with it.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Vietnam, where Ho Chi Minh was a baker who studied in France to cook stuff, right, to be a baker. And one of his platforms is that he would go back to, he would say protect your rice fields in Vietnam, and that's how he got into power. And I'm kind of amazed by how touchy the Vietnamese people are, because I'm Vietnamese myself. And one of the stories I actually thought was really, really bizarre is when a shopkeeper in Little Saigon in Los Angeles, right? He put the flag of the new Vietnam, like the red flag with the yellow star and so forth, and he got an insane amount of protests against him. Like were people who would line up in front of him and would cry and say how much BS they had to go through to, move over to this country to get a better life and so on, right? Because I'm going to be honest, like I kind of thought when I watched it is a bunch of rich Vietnamese people protesting on how shitty the communist regime was. The only problem is I don't know if that's coming from a I've been there or a entitled point of view, because I only remember I was born after the war, not during or before, right? So in a way I get it, in a way I don't. Because let's face it, like you can cling back to your old flag and old Vietnam, but you're not living there, right? People who are there are living there and having to go through the current regime, with the new communism, right? And you're living in, essentially, compared to the people who live there, you have running water, you have refrigeration, you have jobs, money, medical. Where at the time, this is like 20 years ago. People in Vietnam don't have that. They were making like $14 a year, and so it's like rich people complaining, like first world problem, complaining to third world. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. And there are a lot of people who actually love to play the you don't know what they're dealing with there, blah, 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 that card compared to people who actually have dealt with it. And that really pisses me off about those people, is that you weren't there. You did not deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure these people did survive the war.
Yeah. And
they did realize how shitty it was. So in a way, I do understand, but in a way I don't. It's like you're better off now, but yes, you've left your homeland. The thing is, like, when my family left Vietnam, it's basically rich family running away from the army.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happens, right? So basically, it's like, I get surviving the war sucked, but you're in a better place.
Yep.
So clinging on to the past, it's something I don't know. Can you do that, or should you do that?
To a certain degree, you can.
Mhm.
But when you really think about it, you've moved on to a better life.
Mhm.
You've moved on to be better.
Mhm.
And that, I guess you could say, to a certain level, where you're kind of, going, I guess how you described it was being, going in front of this guy's bakery and basically crying and everything else.
They were literally terrorizing him.
Terrorizing somebody else for, saying, I'm proud of my heritage.
Mhm.
Okay, this was not the flag you could say you were proud of your heritage with, but, he was obviously born long after that regime.
I'm pretty sure at the time. I'm pretty sure he was like 50. So he was he's a immigrant, just like everybody else was. The only thing is he basically recognized the modern flag.
Yeah. So and just recognizing the modern flag, which is the, if we're going by the actual definition of the actual country,
Mhm.
that is the correct flag, which you should be, waving your banner with, then he's not really in the wrong.
Yeah.
Because that Vietnam pretty much died when they introduced the new flag.
And also another thing that's related to it is like there was a Vietnamese pop star, right? There was a big poster, right? And he had a star belt, right? It's a red star on it. But the problem with printing, especially with shitty printing, color correction's wrong.
Yeah.
So everybody thought he was wearing a Vietnamese flag on his belt. And they're at the concert. They were protesting him. And this, I think, was a Paris by Night.
Yeah.
So it was one of those major Vietnamese variety shows, right? So, anyways, he had to come out, and I feel for the guy because Vietnamese is his third language probably. So he was speaking as if he was speaking as a child,
Yeah.
And then he showed the buckle, which is it was apparently a white a star belt.
Yeah.
Which when it's small with it's so far, it looks like a yellow or red belt or something.
Yeah.
And so it was again, it was people protesting the current Vietnam regime, right? But then later on, Vietnam, they're full of 30-year-olds, and they decide to have the open policy. Whoever left Vietnam, they can come back, go forth, and so forth.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of right now, currently Vietnam is this weird hybrid of communism/commercialism.
Which is what China is right now.
Yeah. So you would have
you have a one-party system, but you'd have all the every aspect of what it is to be a consumer society
mm-hmm.
/ I'm trying to find the right word here.
Commercialism.
Yeah. Industrial / commercial / capitalist. That's the right word. Capitalist society.
Capitalist pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I watch the travel channels, travel shows to Vietnam, like Anthony Bourdain went back there and he was like, oh look, there's a Louis Vuitton shop, and then there's a Hort Renfrew and so on.
Yeah. And then he goes into the food stalls and they're like, well, I'm eating here anyways, and this has happened to me. Right, compared to and you look at these food stalls, and they're like, they're no better than a mom and pop shop. They're kind of like, well, a bunch of stools, a big a makeshift table, and a big pot of soup and cookery and pre-made noodles,
mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. And you look at that versus the backdrop of a capitalist city here, and thinking, wow, this is kind of like night and day here,
mm-hmm.
right? Where Anthony Bourdain would say, hey, going to this stall would be a lot more heavenly than going to, say, the bigger city for food.
Yeah, my only thing is I'm a big fan of Anthony Bourdain. The only problem is, how should I put it? He's romanticizing stuff.
Well, yeah, he's looking at it a different perspective, right? And yes, he's a huge romantic when it comes down to things that give him great memories.
Yeah,
and you can do that, but the problem is that that's only, I guess you could say, biasing one of the things that's going on with what's going wrong or right with country.
Yeah, well, he basically talks about the food, like be honest, like when my relatives go back there, one of the first things they always say is, "It's motherfucking dirty there," right? So, and then, do I really wonder if the stuff they're eating is actually as good as, say, what my mother makes, right? Maybe, maybe not. And then he would go on about this thing called bong bao wei, which essentially it is a beef soup, right?
Yeah.
But in my culinary experience, he basically is romanticizing the Big Mac of Vietnam. This thing takes like an hour to make versus pho, which takes like a day to make.
Yeah.
Right? So, and he's saying it's complex flavors and it's really good and blah, 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 blah. I've had it probably more times than I really want to count, and it's literally my least favorite thing in the world.
No.
Right?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I can imagine pho taking all day because the soup is very complex.
Yeah, it's essentially, star anise, allspice, oxtail, and you have to basically cook the bones so, the juices come out and so forth, right?
And it takes virtually a day to actually do all that.
Well, correctly. Yeah. Or you can go to, pho hua and just basically have the
powdered soup,
boom, ready to go.
Yeah, and I don't really like that the pho hua style soup because let's face it, it's kind of artificial.
It's the McDonald's.
Yeah.
You can literally tell because one, it's way too salty for its own good.
Yeah.
And second, after you're done.
Yeah. Like
that nice buildup of phlegm on your back of your throat.
Yeah. And that's not something I really care for, to be quite honest. Like, if I see a big pot when I'm looking into the kitchen, I'm happy. Because let's face it, I know they took the time to actually, cook it.
Yeah.
and make it presentable.
Which is Photo Buy, that place I showed you.
Yeah.
They make it every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't expect any less of it. Although, I guess you could say the customer service wise is kind of lacking nowadays.
Yeah, basically the one guy decided to run off with his boyfriend to. I don't know where he is. Allegedly, I heard he's scouting the country to build another restaurant, but he probably just ran off with his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And the other guy, he basically finished college and he doesn't need to work at the shop anymore because he got his green card.
Yeah.
So then he can, immigrate more people. And then, they hired, 2 people at the restaurant that don't give a shit about working there?
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because they were all pretty, the 2 guys that were working there, every time we walked in was like, they were pretty cool guys. They actually loved doing their job and actually had the, actually put the time in. And then these guys that are kind of taking over right now, like, really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of stunned that, it's gone from night to complete, complete day to complete night. It's kind of like, wow, it's shitty service.
It's just the problem is the usual. If the owner's there, everything's generally good. Yeah. If the owner's not there, you'll get food poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not too keen on when you think about it.
Yes. Because my mother, I think, had the spring roll and I had the spring roll. I was fine, but that's because there's a reason why I drink a can of pop every time I go there. Mainly because, I need something cold, and the acid in the pop kills any of the stuff that'll make you sick.
Well, it's kind of the reason why you have like a glass of wine nowadays, with your food. Same idea.
I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, hot tea. I don't know.
Hot tea can only go so far.
Yeah. Yeah, because considering the hot tea is probably the same temperature coming into you as your body, so. But yeah, that's a long segue from 9/11.
Completely. But going back to the original topic, Yeah, look at that war that resulted in that. So you end up having 3,000 people die to 30,000.
The two wars, the first one where, God damn it, it's like
you can tell I'm all for the wall for the Iraq war. Rar rar.
Yeah,
sis boom bob.
It's
bullshit.
like the thing is, I know a lot of military people playing World of Warcraft, a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that Bush made one war, right? Which they should have, it's from Afghanistan, but that
Afghanistan was the right one to go after.
Yeah, but he went after Iraq.
He went after Iraq after that, and I'm thinking, what? And this is my reaction, right? It's like, what the hell, And it's because, well, your dad didn't do the job of finishing him off, really.
Hang on, didn't that's right. Bush Senior was way further. So what happens when you don't get enough sleep, people?
Yeah. So when you really think about it, it's like, well, yeah, you should have gone in and finish the job. Well, no, because, well, look at the result of what you just did, Junior.
Mm-hmm.
You destabilized the area.
Mm-hmm.
You allowed ISIS to take over. Things are shittier now than they were before.
Yep, and oil prices went up.
Yeah.
Yeah. During the time of 9/11, when Bush came into power, I actually made like a weird referencing. He won because he cheated. Of course, my coworker at the time says, "What proof do you have?" Of course, later on, they had that little incident where the woman who was doing the count for the votes was working for George W. Bush at the time.
Yeah.
Coincidence? Probably. But then it is Florida, so,
It is, little brother, actually, his state, since he's the governor.
Yeah.
Now he's running for office.
Is he running for office?
Well, he was running for office. Now, when you look at it, Donald Trump is getting away with the votes on the Republican side of the ledger. And hey, who knows? He might be actually the next president of the United States if he wins the Republican nomination. Because let's face it, he's getting away with the popular vote on that side of the of things. So,
your opinion on Donald Trump?
My opinion on Donald Trump. I would say he is the most shrewdest businessman ever. But if he ever goes into power, Lord help us.
Lord help us all.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than the comedical side of him being president, I know a lot of people who, like business people, who kind of worship him, right? Because when the time, for whatever reason, like remember The Apprentice when it was not Celebrity Apprentice?
Yeah.
Right? Every business person I know who started, I have a friend named Bob who started a t-shirt company or bought a t-shirt company, right? Watches his show on a religious basis, hoping to get some business ideas from him. And, I watch the show and it's a goddamn joke. It's like half the time it's just a bunch of stupid little stunts to raise money for charity, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that majority of it is kind of like set up because I know marketing companies, right? They would get hired by Best Buy and they would try to promote some launch and so forth, right? And, get posters and this, and they would stand up in the crowd and cheering and all this other colossal BS as far as I'm concerned, right? But, it's a business model. I don't know if it's a successful one, but, it's a marketing, right? And which is something that I need to learn more of, right? But anyways, yeah, they would watch his show, try to listen to his stories and so forth. And a lot of it majority of it's common sense. But then, he's also the same guy who shows up for wrestling to deck Vince McMahon in the face. Yep.
Yep, because it's publicity that he seeks for his brand, essentially. Yeah. When you really think about it. Like, I call him the most shrewdest businessman ever. And when you think about it, during the 70s and 80s, in New York, when he was making his fortune,
mm-hmm.
he was doing on the backs of a lot of people who were living in what you called slums.
Mm-hmm.
So he would actually have people doing the job for him, making him a nice little slumlord where he can actually go in there, buy the building, and then knock it down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why, New York City nowadays looks so very polished nowadays because they knocked down all the slum towers by kicking various people out.
Have you been to New York?
Not recently.
Have you been to New York?
No.
Okay. I've only heard about New York. I've never actually been there. Sister probably went there a few hundred times.
I had one chance, and unfortunately, because it was during the blackout period for work, my boss wouldn't let me.
Of course.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So it's like, but I want to go.
Yeah.
And the boss says, no, don't. Oh, well. Nothing I can do about that part.
Yeah, that brings up a question. What kind of moral ethics would you give up to become a billionaire? Because somebody does. So you have to do, like Donald Trump, kick people out of their houses. Microsoft stealing well, actually, that's wrong. They bought DOS fair and square for $5,000.
Yes.
And then turned around and made $1 billion on it.
Yep, and that's smart.
Yeah.
Think about the guy who started off Victoria's Secret.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And somebody bought it off of him for like, what was it? A couple $1,000. And then it became a big conglomerate. When you think about it.
Actually, I looked into it. A big company owns Victoria's Secret, right? So that company was big before they even bought him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it became bigger once they bought him.
Yeah.
So, think about it.
I actually would prefer not to think about it because it would make me, because I think nowadays, especially with business, what is it? Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Because I looked into Instagram, and as far as I could tell, it's basically a photo wall.
Yeah.
Right? And basically, Facebook bought that off of the guy's friend for $1 billion.
Yeah. And you kind of wonder what would warrant $1 billion.
The guy's, it's the guy's friend.
Yeah, they're friends. And it was quite obvious.
It's like, hey, Chad, I'll buy Instagram off you for $1 billion.
Okay.
Done. That's it.
Done. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Kind of makes you wish you created Instagram in the first place. But obviously, somebody beat you to it.
Well, that would require me to know something about netcode and
creating applications and stuff like that.
Applications and so forth. God damn it, not paying attention to programming.
Yeah, same here.
But then, it all comes down to marketing. Like, what is it? Google buying a bunch of other companies. Because I think that's kind of the big thing right now, to come up with an idea, make something that barely works, and get bought out.
Yep. That's YouTube.
YouTube was a brilliant idea.
YouTube was a great idea. The problem was the whole DMCA and everything else.
That was way after Google bought it out.
But but they already had this issue with the DMCA to begin with, and the process. And I guess what Google did was just continue it on that, or just kind of made it worse, because anybody can just go into a video and say, "Well, I'm going to DMCA it falsely," and then basically, if you don't fight back on it, there goes your video. If you fight back on it, then basically you could potentially sue the guy who falsely DMCA'd you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to see how that goes, because I put a somewhat copyrighted song in the middle of one of our podcasts.
Really? How long?
10 minutes.
You put a 10-minute song?
Yeah, basically you hear probably 15 seconds of it, but the rest of it is dimmed down when we talk over it. It's My Favorite Things, but a jazz rendition of it. So realistically, their ID thing would not pick it up, but it is something that wasn't from the royalty-free thing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Realistically, if they take it down, I'll just put another version up without the thing. As an experiment, because I just wanted to put jazz in there.
Well, what the person who owns the rights for the song can do, he could take the content ID, and instead of us making the money, he can make the money off of that.
Yep.
So,
which we're good luck with that, dude.
We make nothing off of it because we barely get the views for it.
Yeah,
let alone the listens.
Yeah, well, we gotta. That's why marketing is so important. We have to change that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Apple just dropped the new iPhone 6s.
Oh, well, they did. Didn't they just drop the iPad Pro?
That, and I think they also dropped the new Apple TV as well.
Apple TV, the most successful and intentional device they have ever made. I love the fact that everybody goes on about what a failure Apple TV is. Excuse me. But then again, see how much it costs on eBay. I dare ya.
Yeah. Well, there are other boxes that are better, but nobody's going to go to them because they're not Apple.
Actually, no. I think you missed the point. The Apple TV device, they would flash it and put Xbox Media Player on it.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
Yeah.
That's what everybody does anyways.
Yeah. So basically every Apple product, that's what happens. So they can stream all the pirated movies they want. There's a legit thing called, was it Soyu or whatever? I can't remember the name. Basically, it's an Android player, and you would put XBMC on it and stream it along, even though it's significantly slower, and XBMC recently is super unreliable.
Yeah. But, well, that's what most people are doing nowadays with Android boxes. They just put XBMC/Kodi on it, and Kodi is essentially just a renamed version of XBMC. Actually,
speaking of which, have you sold a lot of those?
Android boxes? Yeah. Quite a bit, actually.
Which is the best one?
The one coming out of the place I'm selling it from is Minix.
What about the NVIDIA one?
Nothing.
Like, you haven't sold it or you haven't played with it?
Don't have it.
All right. And so, have you... I haven't got a chance to look at the new iPhone 6 because I don't care, right? Have you seen it?
No. Do I care? No.
Nope.
But then again, I've had my fair share of, phones. And let's face it, I did pick up an iPhone 4 back in the day when all of the other Android phones were not quite up to snuff. And this was around a time of Android 2.2 or 2.1. So my choices for smartphones at the time were very limited. And I went with what was a little more, what's the right word? I wasn't going for fashionable, because if I wanted fashionable, BlackBerry would also be in the mix. And I didn't want to go Crackberry because, let's face it, BlackBerry is not something that appeals to me personally. And Apple was a little more, I guess you could say, intuitive. That's what I was aiming for, something intuitive.
Yeah, because basically at the time, I tried to get myself an iPhone. And other than having to pay an extra $30 a month for a lesser plan, I couldn't get it. Even though when I asked them, how about if I just flat out paid for the damn thing? It's like, here's $1,000, can I get an iPhone? No. Good job, Fido. Right?
Well, so I believe at the time, Apple, who had a deal at the time, one of the earlier, like if I remember correctly, Rogers in Canada here, for the longest time had the iPhone 3, and they had the iPhone 4 exclusively until Bell finally caved in and said, we should start buying these. And I was there at the very beginning of that because I was like, wow, really? You couldn't get an iPhone through any other carrier other than Rogers? And Rogers was making hand over money, hand over fist over the iPhone 3 and the 3S, and and the first, I guess you could say, the first few drops of the iPhone 4. And when Bell finally picked up the iPhone 4, everybody, it exploded finally, because you had people who are finally happy with their carrier finally picking up a phone, which everybody wants.
Yeah. I particularly love the story for TELUS when they negotiated the deal with iPhone. Basically, iPhone says, here's your deal. Take it or leave it. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, there's no negotiation. Basically, you sell our phone at a fixed rate.
You drop your pants, you bend over.
And we're not even going to buy you dinner, right?
We're just going to have our way with you. There's no dinner, there's no dancing, there's no music, there's no romance.
There's no spit.
No Vaseline, no lube. When we're done with you, you'll want more.
Yeah. So it's like their iPhone plan, 30% of it, 40% of it, whatever number coming out of my ass, it goes directly to Apple. It's just a brilliant way of making money. And then Samsung came along, ripping off their iPhone 3.
And let's face it, it's been how many years since iPhone 3 dropped? Like, okay. And then the whole big stink about lawsuits and everything else, which
like, you're not allowed to sell that thing anymore. Okay,
we're done with it anyway. So yeah, let's move on.
We're up to like the S6 now.
Yeah. Well, at the time it was the S4, and the very first, or the S3, and the version that they banned in the United States from ever selling is the very first one.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
which was crap.
Like we're done with it. Go ahead. Oh yes, and we plan to appeal the $1 billion settlement, the $1 billion decision from the judge here, and then it ended up being like a couple $100,000 in the end.
Yeah.
So you spent millions of dollars for over a couple $100,000.
Yep. And the thing I particularly love is that guess who's making the iPhone screen and the motherboard and the memory?
Oh yeah, it's all Samsung.
Yeah. Then, of course, Foxconn picked it up and LG made the screen, which I love the fact that LG makes one of the best screens around and they're not allowed to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's disappointing, isn't it?
Not really. It's as long as the company keeps afloat because, Sharp was trying to make the screen, but then, couldn't do it as what they want. And now Sharp is on the verge of bankruptcy.
I'm not surprised. Sharp was one of the first companies that actually did very well in the LCD market, and now they're kind of like, yeah. Their televisions are still pretty damn good. The problem is that the screen technology hasn't really vastly improved.
Because as far as the last I checked, Sharp was making screen for Sony. Now the Sony screens are actually from Samsung.
Yep.
I would know because I tore my Sony apart and it was Samsung, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Samsung screens are not the best because they tend to die out in like 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. The LG screens they're okay, but they last. Because I had an LG screen 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a lot of the current screens, especially the television ones, they're using the IPS panels for everything. Like even right down to, well, I wouldn't say for the cheapest, but I would say they're second cheapest televisions. They all have IPS screens, and then you have the OLED, which is fantastic when you actually look at it for the first time. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to see the OLED screens. I've seen how thin they are when they actually, taking pictures of it and then videos. But damn, those look good. Yeah.
Well, you have it on your phone, and just imagine that being 44 inches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's it's something to look forward to down the road if you have the money for it.
Yeah, it's like what's it? It's basically, was it $4,400 for a 40-inch screen? So what's that break down to? Every 10 inches is $1,000,
give or take.
Yeah. But yeah, I need to look at some of the videos. I want to see if Bengate's still an issue.
Yeah. I believe they're still using a metal body for the iPhone 6. And the iPhone 6S. So Bengate, I wouldn't doubt that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. Well, from the guy who originally got popular from it, I had an example of or a sample of the body, and it says it's Before, it was around 30 pounds of pressure to break. Now it's around 80 pounds of pressure to bend. So we'll see how that goes. But at the moment, if I'm going to get a new phone, I might be considering that's Sony Z5 Premium.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And if they continue on with making it water resistant, I would definitely pick that up.
Yeah. It's just the thing about it being, it's a little small, so it's 5.5 inches. But the fact that it's a 4K display.
5.5 inches, and that's considered small.
Did you not see my last phone? 6.3 inches?
Well, ever since I've met you, you've been getting bigger screen sizes for your phone,
Yeah.
and I think at the time, like 5 inches was considered huge when we first started talking about phones. It's like, yes, I want a phablet.
Yeah, but this one's way too small.
Yeah, but it's like, well, this is okay, but there's another one that's bigger screen, but the processor sucks. Blah 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 blah. And now we're like 6.5 inches. That's the biggest.
Hang on. What?
Sorry, we're 6 inches. Sorry.
No. What? 6 inches? Who has 6 inches?
So,
like the iPhone 6 is only 5.5.
yeah.
And the Note is 5.7. I don't know.
I'm rounding up here.
I want my freaking 6.5 back.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Long dramatic pause.
Yeah.
So I have officially quit WoW for the 10th time.
I think I beat you on that one because I quit WoW like earlier, like 2 months ago. Well, not 2 months ago, but about coming up in a month now.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Vanilla, Burning Crusade, quit, came back. Lich King, quit, came back. Lich King. Pandera, quit, came back. Oh, no. Kata, quit. Pandera, quit. Then came back to the current expansion.
Quit.
And quit because, dailies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, strangely enough, I'm not going through WoW withdrawal. Because I started playing this game called Mad Max. Now, I don't know what the hell happened, but have you seen Mad Max?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen the movie Mad Max?
Yes.
What'd you think of the movie Mad Max?
I thought it was, the best way I could put it is if you're a big action flick fan, did not care about the politics behind it, it was a wet dream for most, for most.
Whoa. Politics?
There was a story behind that one in regards to one of the writers being a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, politics.
I didn't see any. Well, okay.
You didn't see it because it wasn't very apparent.
Because I'm kidding. Let's see. Feminists. We have a lead character who is barely involved in in the story. We have Thunder Rosa, who is the main character of the story, freeing a bunch of sex slaves from a disgusting fat pig of a man. What's sexist?
Yeah. Apparently, there was some sort of talk about a feminist being on the set, and the MRAs were not happy about it. And to which I'm kind of like, I don't see it, MRAs. Sorry. As much as I wouldn't say I'm anti-feminist. I'm an anti-third wave feminist, and I don't see any feminists co-opting the set to make it a feminist movie in any shape or form.
Yeah.
Yes, there was probably a post-apocalyptic feminist or predominantly female society at one point in there that got decimated because they said, yeah, it kind of fell apart. But that's all I saw of it.
Yeah, because, society can fall apart regardless if it's all men, all women, or all kids.
Yeah.
The third movie. All kids.
Yeah.
And then, sex slaves, blah, blah, blah. They died, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. But, as much as I hate, third wave feminism, I hate, MRAs just as much. Although I do kind of see some things with the MRAs that are like, okay, I could definitely be on board with that part. But I there are some things on the MRA side which I'm not on board, which is, certain levels of racism, which, third wave feminism and other things of feminism and other box social justice bullshit.
Yeah.
That there is in that.
Yeah, like I'm kind of right now living my little box right now, because like half the time, is it racist? Like, for example, I was thinking of a story for, like, say, a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, right, where you have a black character who has to put on this bomb that will protect him from fire. The only problem is the bomb is black. And then the joke is, come on, you need to put on the bomb or else you're going to get cindered by the flames we're going to have to go through. I did put it on. Right? and then of course, everybody else is now blackface because, the bomb is black and they put it on the black guy and they can't tell he was on.
Yeah. There's so many weird D&D jokes you can actually put out there with but I think the most recent one was my DM. I was going through this forest here. Basically, I get ambushed by guys with arbalists. Which basically, think about the pilgrims and their guns back then with the big, with the one shot rifles that they had.
The muskets.
Well, it's not our musket. You know how they had the horn shape? Or basically,
that's a musket, isn't it?
Well, the musket's straight as a single straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a barrel that goes, like that. An arbalist, it kind of think of it like a French horn.
Yeah.
Yeah, which opens up out that way. That's an arbalist. So basically, I get shot a couple times, and he's rolling the dice for hits and everything else. He goes, "Oh, missed one. Oh, missed another. Oh, this one seems to have gotten through. Looks like he found a chink in your armor."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at him going, "Hey," and you realize, wait a minute. I forgot you're Chinese.
Well, at least he didn't, he didn't put it on like some National Sports Inquiry, sort of Sports Illustrated article regarding that.
Yeah, or other things. But let's face it, this was all, I didn't take offense to it. It's just I feigned offense because let's face it, it was more fun to actually see him sweat.
White guilt is very fun.
Yes. White guilt is very fun, but you know what? To be quite honest, white guilt is not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, and unfortunately, third wave feminism / social justice warriors / whatever the fuck you believe in that is in a hug box, that is completely unnecessary.
Yeah, because basically we need to understand, like, language can be really racist, right? Because Chinese. What's the word naga? Naga.
Just naga.
That means right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not saying the N word, we're just going right?
Yeah. So it's not, there's nothing negative or anything like that. It just sounds, it may sound one thing. It's and may completely mean completely something else. But, again, most people tend to overlook that.
Yeah. Like the term chink in the armor. It's just a figure of speech. Just don't overreact to it. But lucky for me, the racist word for me has no other meaning other than, oh, wait a minute. No, it does. Like goop. Gook.
Which you can really apply to any other, Asian, really. Because gook could also be, Korean.
Yeah. But anyways, let's see. Yes, back to Mad Max. So the game is an open world RPG essentially, where they combined pretty much a sandbox with car driving and the Batman fightings thing, right? So I'm playing this game. I'm 25% through the game, and I've already maxed my character out. And I did it without cheating, which says a lot because I cheat in everything, right? Because the first thing I do is trainer, It's like, I want everything on. It's like, I didn't have to because, the game came out. There wasn't a trainer available. And at the moment, I'm maxed out on everything. So I'm literally barrel rolling through the game because I'm using the shotgun. And supposedly, ammunition is very rare. The only problem is I have a perk where every time I kill somebody, I get ammunition.
Joy.
Right?
It's wow.
Yeah. Because Shadow Mordor, I got 99% because I couldn't bother to get the other 1%. And already in this game, they took the challenge away from it. And this is coming from a guy who cheats his ass off in everything other than World of Warcraft.
Yeah. That's, I have a feeling that this game wasn't finished properly.
Well, at least this isn't like Metal Gear, because that damn game is $76, and the Mad Max was $60, right?
Yeah.
And I feel for Metal Gear, I'm being trolled by Kojima because every little segment you do, it has a opening credit and an end credit. So they split it up into these 15 sections or 15 missions. So the main mission's 15 hours, but you have 300 hours of side missions, right? So you finish one chapter, you have an intro credit with directed, produced, and written by Kojima. And when you finish with it, to be continued, directed, produced by Kojima. And of course, he got fired from Konami, right?
Yeah. So it's his way of saying, fuck Konami.
Because this entire game, if you're paying attention, it's a complete troll on everything. It's one of the things that I found hilarious is that you can, in order for you to get troops, you have to basically virtually paralyze a guy. Then you parachute him up, and a plane will catch the parachute and fly him to your base, and they get brainwashed to join your cause. So I did it with a horse, a jeep, a dog, a sheep. I tried to do with a cow, but I couldn't find one. Supposedly there is a cow, and there's supposed to be a goat that I can brainwash to be on my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That.
Yes, Kojima, right?
Yeah, Kojima.
I remember in Snake Eater, you have to climb this ladder, right? And you literally have to climb the ladder. It takes 4 minutes, 56 seconds. The exact length of the song that's playing.
Wow.
Right? And here's another thing. When you have, there's a glass of ice, right? The actual time it takes for ice to melt is the exact same time that ice takes to melt.
Nice.
Attention to detail. So, yeah, Mad Max, is it worth buying? No, pirate it. Kojima's game, Metal Gear Solid 5. The first part is not worth any price because it's only 10 minutes worth of gameplay, depending how you play it. But the second one, wait for it to go on sale because $76 is a lot of money for a game.
Yeah, no, I have to agree to that. So, any games that you're looking forward to seeing down the road?
Yes, they're all space games. Dead Island, I'm kind of morbidly curious about because the trailer is actually really, really good because you're in Hollywood, right? Or California, and you're focused behind this guy who is basically the pretty boy, life coach, right? So he basically got bitten on the arm. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to put that away on my wristband. I'm going to put my music on, got to check my pecs, check my teeth, and let's go for a run. And as he's running, he's turning into a zombie. And then his fake hair falls off, his silicone implants in his biceps, worn away. And all of a sudden his white shirt gets all bloodied out. And then he becomes a zombie, and the hero of the game, who's riding along in his van, knocks him to pieces, just hits him with his van or something. So now he's in pieces and still his shoes.
Nice.
And I'm looking forward to No Man's Sky I am really looking forward to Star Citizens if it ever comes out. Right. I am very looking forward to the new expansion of World of Warcraft. That's like 8 months away potentially.
Yeah.
And probably the usual EA Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, whatever you call it, for the single player, and then waste that $50, $60 and not play the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next StarCraft 2 expansion.
When's that coming out?
Something, I don't know, whenever.
Whenever it's ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of whenever it's ready, oh shoot, what is it called? Cyberpunk.
Okay, Cyberpunk.
Okay. So the game I'm looking forward to is Cyberpunk from CD Projekt Red. Same guys who made The Witcher 3, which, speaking of which, I gotta play that game. Because the first game I didn't play, the second one was long and tedious, and, well, I don't know, heard a lot of good things about the third one.
Yeah, a lot of people I heard love the third Witcher. I have never played it, but then again, it's not really something I care to, personally, because it's not really in the genre where I haven't been really that big of an avid gamer for a very long time. I'm more of a strategy guy, so, I'll go for stuff like Civilization or StarCraft 2.
Have you played XCOM?
Yes. The original XCOM and the second XCOM, but not the newest XCOM.
The second XCOM?
Terror from the Deep.
Terror from the Deep. Okay. What about the current one? Like the strategy one?
I haven't played that one.
You gotta play that one. That one's really fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll probably check it out on Steam when I get a chance to.
Yeah, it's like $4 or $5 on Steam now.
If it is, yeah.
Yeah. And then the XCOM 2 sequel to that game's coming out. I'm kind of happy they got rid of the first-person shooter XCOM.
Yeah, that was something that was not very appealing to me.
Yeah, because I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Just like a bunch of other games, it was pretty much, how should I put it? Was micromanaged and took away all the good stuff from it. Like before, it was like supposedly really off the wall, but then they really bland it out for whatever reason. Can't think of any other games that are coming out now.
I wouldn't be surprised when you think about it, because it's before they actually hyped it up heavily at EB Games or whatever company that you bought your games from, and nowadays you're kind of like, oh, I'll wait for it to come out on Steam.
Mm-hmm. Or Steam sale, which is usually generally what to go. But I've noticed that PC games now are harder and harder to find, because I think the only company I know that will carry PC games right now are Electronic Boutique.
Yeah. I haven't found a lot of games at EB a long time, so...
Yeah, because they carry the PC games. You just have to ask for it. But majority of them are consoles.
Yeah.
Even Best Buy, they stopped carrying PC games. And so nowadays, the only way to get them is to pretty much download them off Steam.
Yeah. Well, it's preferable nowadays because you don't have to deal with the media anymore. As long as you still have your account, you can always re-download the game, which is the most convenient thing out there. Providing that, the company's still around in, like, say, next, decade or so.
Yep. I don't know. I'm still I'm still a real media type of guy. Like, I still prefer a physical copy. But then again, my movies nowadays, I'm getting digital copies of those instead of having the physical copy.
Yeah. I do miss actually having physical copies, but at the same time, I don't really miss it because, well, I was never really an organized guy when it came down to my physical copies. Mm-hmm. So I'll be like, I'll be like tossing into a box somewhere, and then, later down the road, I'm saying, well, where the fuck did I put this fucking game? I want to reinstall it and play it again. And, lo and behold, I threw it in the garage.
The other problem with, the Steam account, it's like I bought a copy of the orange box, right?
Yeah.
With Half-Life 2. The problem is I forgot the password and the login for that code. So that copy's gone. I had to create a new one.
Joy.
So the only thing I can do with that copy is to crack it, and hopefully it'll play. Wonderful. But have you? What do you think? Are you excited about the new Star Wars?
No. I'm glad they're putting out new Star Wars, but at the same time, I'm not too worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing I have lowered expectations. That's why I'm not surprised. I'm not excited for it.
I'm really hoping that it is probably I'm hoping that it's the worst thing since the Phantom Menace, right? Because I really enjoyed all my diehard Star Wars friends crying over how bad it was and trying to defend the piece of garbage it was.
You said talking bad about the Phantom Menace. You're sacrilege.
Because I'm the guy who says, yeah, Phantom Menace was amazing. It was so much better than episode 4, 5, and 6.
So essentially, you have the newest Wesley Crusher, known as Anakin Skywalker.
Mannequin Skywalker.
Anakin.
Mannequin.
No, he's not a man at this point. Because let's face
Mannequin Skywalker.
No, he's just a kid going, annoyingly, oh well, I'm gonna miss you, Mom. Oh,
this is podcast. What's it?
Like, come on, really? Oh, so this kid just happens to, by chance, knock out all these droids, knock out all the generator that's protecting everybody else on the planet from being blown up and shit, and all of a sudden, boom, he saves the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Wesley Crusher, you've done your job.
Wesley Crusher. I really would have liked it if he picked up a lightsaber and started taking out Darth Maul.
That would have been too much. And at that point, I'll be like,
have you not seen him when he jumped into the starship and took out all these?
Yeah, exactly. And when you think about it, it's like, what? Really? What?
Like, no. See what happened. What they didn't show you.
What does this do? Press button, bang, bang, bang.
All right, this is like that video game I played at home.
Yeah, exactly.
They should have done something along the lines of that. Him just practicing on his Star Wars edition of the Nintendo 64.
But and then we had the later versions of of Star Wars, when he's a little more grown up. It's like, oh God, Christian Anderson, can you not act?
He cannot act.
Yeah,
because I have Jumpers on Blu-ray because it's such an amazing movie. It came with my box set. Right?
Yeah,
it came with, what is it? It came with Ultraviolet, which is a movie I actually wanted, but the box set was $10 cheaper than the single copy of Ultraviolet, so
why not?
Yeah. $5, right? So it came with Jumpers, which I unfortunately cannot remember the movie whatsoever. I don't think I've even taken out of the shrink wrap. Yeah. But I don't know. I would have done so much more. And I'm like only on the fence with Star Wars. I'm starting to get interested in the new movie, but I'm still kind of really trolly about it.
Well, again, I don't have very high expectations of the movie, other than it's continuing on the from the previous version. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not overly worried about it. Okay, they're making it. Whatever. Who cares?
Well, I'm kind of happy that Disney bought it because potentially it could be a good movie, but shall we take bets on who dies first?
My money's on Chewie.
My money on Chewie living, but Skywalker dying in the first movie. And then later on, they have to get rid of Han Solo because he may not survive.
Well, if they're going according to books, which are canon,
not anymore.
Not anymore. But if they're going according to the books here, Yeah, of everybody that was from the original series that, was not the main cast, or that is part of the main cast, yeah, sorry to ruin it for everybody, Chewie does bite it. Right?
Because I'm thinking, if they killed off Chewie, I think I will laugh my ass off.
You know how, okay, so in the books, you know how they killed Chewie?
No.
Okay, so for anybody who...
Sorry, which one? Is this the Thrawn's trilogy?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so if anybody who is a fan of Star Wars have read the books, okay, R.A. Salvatore actually wrote the first book in that series.
Really?
Where there's this new menace that comes into into their universe, and starts doing, because they don't really have the Force or anything like that. They're kind of like a little bit weird. So, and of course, they don't really go by actual technical. Their technology is not technical. It's actually biological technology, right? So instead of actually having mechanical ships, they have biological ships. In the movie, basically, Chewie bites it by trying to save the youngest kid of the Solo clan, because the Solos have 3 children. He saves the littlest one there, and not being able to make it onto the ship, he just throws the kid onto the ship, and as the ship is leaving, they drop a moon on top of him.
Hang on. The ship leaves, and a moon falls on top of Chewie.
Yep. That is the literal interpretation I'm going to give you guys. What happened is basically something's fucking up with the gravity of the planet. So basically, they're trying to evacuate people.
Yeah.
Right. So the youngest kid of the Solo clan here, basically, it couldn't make it onto the ship on time. So Chewie runs out, grabs a kid, throws him back on the ship.
Dwarf tosses him in the ship. Yeah.
Dwarf tosses him onto the ship, and because Chewie wasn't able to actually get back on the ship, he basically pulls out his bowcaster and starts doing, and then basically the planet is more or less being the moon collides with the planet as the ship is just leaving.
Now, according to some of the Dungeons and Dragons, like the role playing Star Wars games, Wookiees have an insane armor class. I think he would have survived it. Maybe.
Although this is good consider being a act of God type of catastrophe, so not likely.
He just has to roll like a couple of 20s, a couple of savings rolls. Should have been able to do it.
There is a possibility if he rolled all natural 20s. Well, of course, it would have to be an insane roll, though.
Yeah. That's the only movie that's left in the year to watch, because there's no more Twilight movies. There's a Twilight TV show series that's coming out.
No!
I'm super excited about that because, I'm a huge fan of the Twilight books.
As I can see on your walls right here with the Bella calendar, the Jacob, whatever that is, and of course the Edward Cullen
GQ magazine cover.
Yeah. I'm like, oh God. You can just tell your sister to get her own spot.
That is her spot.
Like outside of this room here.
It's full. Yeah.
I don't care.
Actually, that's the one thing I'm kind of puzzled by Stephanie Meyer. It's like, sure, you have somebody who pirated your one copy of the book of Twilight version 2.0, but yet she got all butthurt about it and refused to write ever again.
Yeah, well, who cares?
Well,
my response is, until you start killing off your own characters that mattered in the book, I don't care. I don't care. You know what? Like, let's face it. We lost Chewie, for fuck's sakes, in the books. All right, that caused the biggest stir out there. Yet her not killing any one of her characters that is part of the Cullen clan or of Jacob's clan or whatever, or even death of Bella. Who gives a fuck? I'm sorry. Unless when your major character dies, major character, not a minor character, because who cares about the minor characters if they're all expendable, right? Till when your major character dies in your book, I don't give a fuck about your book. Like even a buddy of mine who just wrote his own book here, he just killed off one of his major characters, and his editor's pissed off with him.
His editor's.
Yeah.
Hang on. He wrote a book? Who's his? How many books have you written?
He's on his third book right now.
Do I know him?
You may have met him.
No.
But he didn't start writing until a few years ago.
No, what I meant, I'm actually curious about the process, right?
Yeah.
Because, right now, is it digital publication or actual physical publication?
I don't know. I know there are actual books, and he has, given them away and whatnot.
Has he given you a copy?
No.
Why the hell not?
Because I haven't asked.
If you're a real friend, you go out and buy it.
No, if I wanted to actually read it, I'll go out and buy it, right? But it's not something I care for. He's basically writing in a science fiction genre, so I'm not too worried about it. As much as I'm a fan of science fiction and everything else, it's just that his book is kind of when you really think about it, it's more like an homage to like Gundam and Legend of the Galactic Heroes in anime. When you think about
it, do you know what's it called?
Black Tryon.
Black Tryon. And where can one buy this book?
I think it's on Amazon.
Black Tryon. Do you know if there is a audiobook version of it?
No idea.
Because reading is something I'm not crazy about.
Obviously.
But actually, the only reason why I brought up Twilight is I am still remarkably amazed by the spin-off stuff, right? Because, a woman who writes Twilight fan fiction, 50 Shades of Grey, is now making millions off the movie. And there's also another woman who is, oh God, how should I put it? She started off writing Twilight fanfic, but now writes hippopotamus porn. And making a lot of money off of that.
Oh, hippopotamus porn.
Off of Twilight.
Hippo porn off of Twilight. I would never guessed.
Yeah. So I am thinking, what am I doing wrong? These people are making millions of dollars writing garbage. And then, people, like professional artists making coloring books and making vast amount of money. What am I missing here?
Stupidity.
So basically, we need to come out with the stupidest thing we can possibly think of, make it even dumber, and then sell it.
Spin it off of something that was completely retarded.
Game of Thrones? Should we make Twilight meets Game of Thrones? Meet Walking Dead?
Game of Bones.
No, that's copyrighted. There's an actual porn called that.
I am not surprised.
All right, let's cut it short.
Yeah, we should, because it's just completely degenerated. With all the stupid Twilight talk. Oh my God.
All right. Thanks again for all the listeners that listen to us. Take care.
Yes, we appreciate you, especially when you listen to dumb shit like this.
All right. All right. Talk to you later. Take care. Bye.